Hello and welcome to the Will to Win podcast. This is Alex Muir, helping millennial professionals reach peak mental and physical performance. And in today's episode, this episode is brought to you by radioguestlist.com, and it's the #1 free radio guest, podcast, and talk show guest expert interview booking service on the internet. So thank you again to radioguestlist.com for helping me find guests to have on an interview on my podcast. And again, this is the Will to Win podcast. And we have a special guest today, and her name is Christina Flach. She's a CEO, makeup artist, mother, and widow. And she is the CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. And she also does celebrity makeup as well. And one of the people that you might know that she does celebrity makeup for is Miley Cyrus, as a matter of fact. So very, very cool. And Christina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for having me today. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. And then, as I mentioned to the audience, I've been utilizing this radioguestlist.com, and that's how me and you interacted. And where this is our first time kind of meeting through audio format, which is really cool.
Yes.
And and actually, I was just kind of reading over your bio there. And one of the awesome topics that I really wanted to run through with you today is choosing happiness and gratitude.
Absolutely.
Because I know you're someone that's been through a lot, and you've come out stronger on the other side and built a lot of confidence. And I just definitely want showcase for our viewers kind of like what was some of your methodologies for bringing out or choosing happiness and gratitude when times get tough.
Okay. Well, so where would you like to start?
Oh yeah, we can start. Let's start with some of the things that have happened in your life that have really had a profound impact on you.
Okay. Well, my mother, when I was 8 years old, my mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor. She had cancer. And so I grew up, obviously very quickly. I, was taking care of my little sister and helping my dad and cooking and cleaning and all that. And I was still, playing junior tennis. And then my husband, Ken Flach, was a professional tennis player. He was #1 in the world. He was on the Davis Cup team. He had won Wimbledon and a gold medal in Seoul. He passed away 2 years ago, March, from sepsis. And I thought my life was absolutely perfect, right before he, was ill. My company was doing well. My agents were booking me incredible projects. I'm a makeup artist, and my agents are in San Francisco, LA, and New York. And, everything was fantastic. And then all of a sudden, everything wasn't. He got sepsis. He died in 4 days. And my whole life was turned upside down. And, and I forgot to mention that my 4.5-month-old son had passed away as well on a Christmas Day about 13 years ago. So I have had 3 significant deaths in my life. And, my mother she ended up passing away when I was 20 years old. And my son when I was 40. And I knew that when my son passed away, I went into a very dark place. I had 4 other children. For about a month, I was, taking sleeping pills just to numb myself. And I was just so, so sad. My heart was just shattered into a million pieces. But then, one of my girlfriends had said to me, like, look, you've got to get yourself together because you have a husband and you have 4 other kids and you just cannot do this. Like, enough's enough. Like, stop wallowing. So I realized that they were right. I have always led a very healthy life. I wake up every morning, happy, and I, drink tea and green juice, and, I do yoga, I ride horses, I hike, and I just led a very clean life. And so I went back exactly to that after, a month after my son had passed away. So, I got my life back on track and my kids were doing well. And then I got divorced, which was, very sad as well after my son passed away. But then I got married. I met Ken Flach. We got married, and I was the happiest, honestly, I'd been in my entire life. And I got my company back on track, and I got an agent, and, everything just seemed really, really great. And so when he passed away, I realized like I couldn't go down that dark path again, because my children, were teenagers, and they really, really needed me. They were very attached to Ken. He was their stepdad, but he was, he made them feel so special and kind of healed all of us after my son passed away. And so I realized at that moment, like, okay, you need to really stay on track. So I started meditating. I renewed my faith in God. I prayed, I hiked, I did Pilates, I ran, I cried. I really made sure that I was on a very tight regime of
Yeah.
everything, the way I ate, the way I slept, it was hard to sleep. Everything was just hard. And I just did everything in my power to lead a good example for my children. And so, I had gone to grief camp at Canyon Ranch. I had met with Rabbi Sherry Hirsch, who had written the book, We Plan and God Laughs. And basically what that is, there's going to be bumps in life. There's going to be, really sad days, but it's our choice on how we choose to handle it and move forward. And so, I want to be happy. I want my children to be happy. And, my well-being and my mood affects a lot of people. It affects my children, my friends, my family, my, people that my agent, my publicist, everyone. And, I just chose to be happy. And it doesn't mean I don't get sad, but I do everything in my power to do things to be positive. And I started doing charity work. I started a foundation for my son, Bo, that passed away. And, and after Ken passed away, I did the exact same thing. I added a Ken Flach educational fund at the Northern Lights School in Oakland, California. The school is just a remarkable place for children, for minority children that, don't have the most amazing upbringings or home situations. But this school is a private school that is run solely on grants and donations. And so it made me feel really good to honor, my son and my husband by doing, helping children that normally are kind of forgotten. And I feel that I can honor them instead of just, I believe, and this might sound crazy, but I believe that that they're up in heaven, that they're angels and they're watching over us. And I think it would be horrible for them to look down upon us if we were just constantly sad and depressed and not living life to its fullest, not choosing to do happy things or helping other people. I feel that, to honor them and all the people that have passed in my family and in my life, that the best thing that I can do is do an interview like this or help a child go to school to change their family, to change communities. And I strongly believe that we have a choice every day when we wake up, and to love your children and, your family and your community. And the best way to do that is to serve others.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's some major life stuff right there. And like that breadth of experience, I can't say I have lost someone like immediate family or sibling or like that, but I have lost, my grandparents on both my dad's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely a wreck, and I was very young. I was only 8 or 9.
Right.
And I knew how that felt, but to lose a husband or to lose your child, like I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah, I would never want anyone to know what it feels like, but that's part of life's cycle. Death is not, I believe that people pass and they, go on to another place, and that one day we will all be together again. And I do believe that they are looking down upon us. And I think it's our responsibility to honor them. And, I feel especially, with Ken having been, you know, who he was in the tennis world, and, you know, I feel that I have more of a platform than I would if I hadn't been married to him. And so I think it's important that I use that platform in the most positive, respectful way I can to him and to his children, by honoring him and doing things that keep his memory alive. And I think education is incredibly important, and as did Ken. And I think we all, you know, need to do that.
No, for sure, for sure. And I really like how you said to carry on your husband's legacy, your family's legacy. That's your way of carrying it on through giving back, charity foundations and education. And I'm a firm believer in self-education. So I completely relate to that. And I think I also read, I don't know if it's the same school that you're talking about, but did you also develop like an outdoor school environment where it's outdoors?
I started with some other people at a school called Edna McGuire School in Mill Valley. There's an outdoor garden that is named after my son, Bo. It is called the Bo Friedman Outdoor Classroom. And it's an outdoor classroom with this amazing garden of fruits and vegetables and chickens. And I think it's really important, not just learning, you know, in school, we learn through books and computers and, you know, through our amazing teachers. But I also feel that teaching, you know, kids how to garden encourages them to eat better than, you know, just they're going to be much more inclined to trying different vegetables if they participate in helping them grow and watching them grow and seeing, you know, different and willing to taste different vegetables and fruits. So I feel really good about that. A lot of children aren't as blessed as mine that have had all these different opportunities. So I think it's really, really important, if you have the ability to help children that are otherwise forgotten, I don't see how you could not. And I feel really good about that. And I also, my son Bo has a twin, Ben, my youngest son, and Ben is 13, and there's a charity golf tournament every October. Vita Blue, he was a baseball player. He puts on this charity golf tournament, and the 49ers participate, the Raiders, the A's, the Sharks, the Giants, they all come and play in this golf tournament. And so Ben, the last 4 years, has been on the hole 5, and they pay him a minimum of $20 to hit the ball for them. And if they like the ball that he's hit, they take it or they pay him more money. So this past October, Ben raised $35,500, which,
oh my goodness,
I know, it's pretty remarkable for a 13-year-old boy in one afternoon, one day, to raise that kind of money. And just to put it into perspective, because my son is so humble and incredible, he's like, Mom, it's not a big deal. Like, I played golf today. I missed a day of school. And I said, Ben, yes, you did. However, you raising $35,500 is allowing 3 children to go to a private school for a year, which, that is life-changing. That's life-changing for the children, the families, and our communities, being to have that opportunity. So I feel, and I think to learn at such a young age as Ben has, that he's, it's just his normal. And I didn't realize until one of my daughters brought to my attention, they said, Mom, you have, obviously been through so much with Ken passing and how devastated you were, but you have handled everything like with such dignity and grace, and, teaching Ben at such a young age to give. And, I think it's important as parents and, just human beings to be your highest self and to help someone else. And by setting a good example, like parent, I didn't even think about it. I always, I had given my kids lecture, the normal, don't do drugs and don't drink. And my daughter Rose told me, she's like, Mom, your lectures were just lame. And I said, what are you talking about? I think my lectures were award winning. And she's like, no, your example of how you conducted yourself. We've never seen you drunk or high. Thank God they didn't notice that month that I had lost my mind after Bo died, but I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't really see it, or maybe they forgot. But, she said your example of, all the charity work and the garden and the, the educational foundations, your example is so much stronger than your words could have ever been. And I really was surprised to hear that from her, actually. But, it does make sense.
Yeah. And that statement that you just said, learning by example that our parents set, or our mentors or advisors set for us, like that is very, very powerful.
Absolutely.
Like I'm the kind of person that if I really relate well with someone,
Mm-hmm.
like I want to get to know them a little bit better, and see if they'd be a potential friend or advisor in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for instance, like one of my colleagues from work, like I got to know him, and I used to go to school with his sister, and we've actually grown a great friendship over the last few months. And it just goes to show, like, you just never know who you're going to meet.
That's true.
And then, like you said, like always show your highest self, to carry things on for previous generations.
Absolutely.
And for your children and their children's children. So yeah, it's all about setting that example and being your best self as often as possible.
It's true. And, another thing that I'm doing, and it's, related to sepsis, I've been raising awareness for sepsis. I wasn't aware of sepsis when Ken got ill. And I am now, I'm aware of. So I also feel, because of who Ken was, that I'm able to speak to different people, different groups, different media types, because I'm able to use his name and honor him in that way. And, I would love to see change in the medical system. Unfortunately, Ken and I had Kaiser Permanente, which is here in the United States. They're an insurance group, but they also have doctors. And so unfortunately, Kaiser's, business plan includes, encouraging their doctors not to see patients face to face. They would like them to, call into an advice nurse and then, have a doctor call. They actually give bonuses to their doctors for seeing fewer patients. And the problem is in Ken's instance that, he was clearly visibly ill with bronchitis, which turned to pneumonia. He said he had glass in his chest. He never had felt worse in his life. He said he felt like he was dying, and he was. And they refused to see him. And then they misdiagnosed. They didn't give him an antibiotic. They gave him cough medicine with codeine and an inhaler, but no antibiotic, which when I looked at the 2 containers of cough medicine with codeine, I was like, why would someone need 2, 8-ounce jars of cough medicine with codeine and no antibiotic? Like, how long was he going to be on cough medicine with codeine? And then what was so crazy, which I was completely unaware of, was if you're taking cough medicine with codeine and you have a chest infection, it will suppress your breathing. It slows it down so much that the infection will actually grow at a much quicker rate than if you were just breathing normally. So when Ken did get the inhaler and the cough medicine with codeine, he thought he was going to sleep more and feel a lot better the next day. Well, it was actually the opposite. He the infection got so bad, the bronchitis in 12 hours turned to pneumonia. And he was on life support when I got him to the emergency. So, I would love to see change in the medical system as well, that, doctors are obligated by law to see patients if they're going to prescribe any medication at all. So that's another little, thing I'm working on, is trying to, raise awareness for sepsis, but also to see change in the medical system that I don't think is, that I think there'll be much more loss of life if we continue to not see, if doctors don't continue, if they don't see patients.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like you need to have that face to
Oh, for
face to
sure. I mean,
know
you don't know.
what's
How
going
can
on.
you, yeah, how do
Yeah.
you know? Because
You,
you don't know if
yeah, you
they're,
can't do it all over the
no,
phone.
you can't
Yeah, no.
test their blood pressure or their heart rate or their temperature or look them in the eyes or, just see, like, it's impossible. I mean, so there was his doctor was Dr. John Culbertson. He chose to not see Ken. And because of that choice, Ken is no longer alive. And to me, it's unforgivable and inexcusable that I no longer have, the love of my life to share my life with. It's, and my children don't have their father. And the world lost a really amazing human being. And Ken's not the only one. I'm sure there's many, many more. But I'm, because Ken was Ken Flach, I'm actually able to say it, on radio and TV that other people, just suffer. So I feel it's my obligation to make change in the world. So that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
do.
and that's what it's all about, right? Making one small change at a time.
Correct.
And that'll grow to, very large change over a long period of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
And I like what you said earlier about living life like a healthy lifestyle, but living life on a tight regime.
Yes.
Because I can really relate to that, because when I look back and when I've had anytime I'm going through something and I feel like it's tough, but I look back to when I was the most successful, it always stems back to being on a very regimented schedule.
Yeah.
Now it might feel like military, but it's so beneficial that if you have a goal, to just to help you get in the zone is just to like block anything else out that you feel is going to distract you and just be laser focused towards
right.
something.
And it's just being disciplined and having structure. And I think, using, one's time well every day, especially like right now, I'm pretty much under house arrest with, the virus.
Yeah.
So
the virus,
I still am waking up at the same time I always did. I'm getting dressed, putting on my makeup. I'm exercising every day. I'm eating the same. This is not a time. In fact, I'm even tightening myself more with how I am. I'm being more disciplined than ever. I'm making sure not to eat a bunch of sugar, a bunch of carbs. I'm not drinking any alcohol. I'm just, a water and tea and green juice and, eating food, obviously. But I feel like this time for us to keep clear minds during this difficult time is only going to help us get through this in a positive way. What's concerning to me right now with, people being in houses and not being able to work and be stressed about, their money and what's going to happen. It's terrifying. If you're drinking or doing drugs or eating a bunch of sugar and not exercising, that's the fear. I mean, I don't like to worry because I think it's basically praying for bad things to happen. But I think, it is concerning to me when people are out buying guns in fear, because that's just, it's a recipe for disaster, I think.
Yeah. Like what it comes down to is we gotta you gotta mentally prepare yourself by being as healthy as possible.
Absolutely.
And that's how you won't have these events cloud your judgment as much.
Right. It's true.
Even though it can still happen, it's just a matter of like,
you're right. And I think it's just important, for all of us. And it's hard. I mean, I realize I am very disciplined and I'm very blessed. I live in a very nice house, so it's easy for me to be home. I can walk out my door, and I can be, on a hiking trail in like 2 minutes. I mean, I am very fortunate. I'm not living in an apartment with small children. So obviously I am very, very fortunate and I know it. So it's easier for me to be, disciplined. I'm not making excuses for anyone, but I do know that I am very fortunate and I'm very, very grateful. And I think when you're coming from a place of gratitude And, you start seeing the beauty in everything. I normally buy flowers for my house every week, but obviously right now I'm not, I'm trying to, conserve my money. So I'm not trying to waste. So, I went into my garden and picked some flowers. So I still had beauty in my eyesight. So like I walk into my kitchen and there's flowers on the counter and, in my living room, and I light candles, and I try to just make my home as beautiful and happy a place as I can with what I have to deal with, with what I have,
No, for sure. Yeah. It's a matter of creating that comfortable environment, that environment that makes you feel happy
right.
and
And
upbeat.
I'm limiting what I watch on TV right now. I'm not obsessing and watching the news all day long. I'll turn it on in the morning for a bit.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel that right now, hearing all that negativity and all that fear is just unhealthy. Yeah. So I am absolutely not watching it. And when I turn on the TV, I'm just turning on Netflix and watching, a comedy or anything other than the coronavirus. I don't even want to know about it. Whatever's going to be, it's out of my control. So what am I going to obsess about it for?
Exactly. When it comes to extenuating circumstances, right? All we can control as human beings is what we do on a daily basis.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
Once I came to that realization, like I like it. I like that everything falls with us. It falls with what we do on a daily basis, and then anything outside of that's out of our control, we don't have control over it. So the easiest thing to do is not, as much as we can, don't think about the external stuff if we can. And the easiest way to not do that is by not tuning into the news or reading it. So
no, I think it's best. And I think we do need to protect, our children from watching too much of that. My gosh, you don't want your children to be growing up in such fear, and
yeah, no. Cause there's going to be times like this in our lives where things like this happen. There will be more recessions, depressions, pandemics, or epidemics. It's just the nature of life, like you said. But going through life, the media tends to, instill fear in people when things like this happen, right? And then because they want the ratings, so they want to just keep sending out those fear signals to everyone that's watching.
Correct.
And we don't need to do that. Like, you don't need to watch that stuff, because the more you watch it, the more you will condition yourself to be fearful about everything that's going on.
Absolutely. And it's scary. I mean, if you watch the news and you see all that and you hear it, I mean, it's absolutely terrifying. And if you're not of sane mind, Lord knows what someone could go on, what they have, and if they have a gun and they're unstable. So it's just, I just wish the media would, I know they're doing their best and they have a job, but it's our choice on how we want to handle it and what we want to watch. And, I think balance is a big thing for me. I talk about that a lot when I speak on these radio interviews about having balance in your life, like, exercising, drink, I'm not saying don't not drink, but, moderately, and eat well, just everything in moderation. Yeah. And if we can keep everything in moderation, I think our lives will be a lot more balanced, and I think a lot happier. And I think happiness and love is such a beautiful thing, and there's not enough of it. And I think we have to create it and share it with others and make the world as beautiful and happy as you can be. I mean, that's kind of like with my job as a makeup artist. I'm part of a team making something look like the best version it can look, or the celebrity or the model or whatever it is I'm working on. I was just in Los Angeles, working on a TV show for Fox with Isaiah Washington called Kitchen Talk, which was actually a really cool concept. Isaiah used to be on Grey's Anatomy. He's an amazing actor and just a wonderful person. But he, it's so interesting. If you think about it, the best conversations any of us have at a dinner party are when our family, like in the kitchen while someone's cooking. Everyone congregates, there's a lovely living room, but everyone wants to be in the kitchen and they are talking. So the TV show is they have a guest, and they cook up, something together, but they're also having conversation and an interesting dialogue along with it. So I think it's going to be airing in April on Fox Nation, Kitchen Talk with Isaiah Washington. And I think I'm really proud of it, and excited to have been part of it. It was a really neat show.
That sounds awesome, because I like that idea a lot, because like I grew up a lot. One thing my parents always told me is like, there's not a lot of kids that have the luxury or the opportunity to sit down as a family with their with their parents.
That's true.
Like that doesn't, as time has been going on, a lot of people they don't have that. A lot of parents just give their kids some money and then they'll say, oh, go to the mall or go to a movie or whatever, and they just don't see them.
Right.
But I grew up having dinner and sitting down as a family with my sister and my parents, and I'll never look, like I can never look back from that. Like that built my teenage years. That built me as a man.
And it's, made you to be very sensitive and, thoughtful, and, you're very blessed to have had that experience, because, you have learned to have dialogue and conversation as a family and listen to people, trials and tribulations of what went on with your dad and your mom at work, or, conflicts with other things. And, that's the one thing I think that, like, my children, it's just, even I can tell, because there's a big span between my oldest and my youngest. My oldest is 26 and my youngest is 13. So even my oldest, Melania, she lives in London. She's a fashion designer. Even she will say to me, like, how Ben, the youngest, his childhood is very different than hers, just because of technology and, just how things are different, and, she didn't grow up having an iPhone, like how he got at such a young age. And I think it's unfortunately not helping that generation to communicate with their words. It's harder for them. They're more comfortable having a conversation with their phone and than them having a conversation with another human being, which is really terrifying to me. And I think it's sad. I mean, if you're not able to communicate with other people, what's going to happen to the world? Like, it's a beautiful thing how you're able to, you're quite young to be able to be having conversations with different people from different occupations in a really mindful, intelligent way.
Yeah. And that's one thing I feel like that my upbringing taught me was always have that open dialogue, always be open to having a dialogue with people, and having that open communication style, and just always
you have the
get
curiosity.
To know people is
it's the curiosity.
It's exactly, it's the curiosity. I find it fascinating, people's backgrounds and how they become who they become, and what makes them successful.
I do find it. It's very interesting. Remarkable. Everyone's got a story, and that's part of my job that I find really fun. Is like, if I could have a TV show or a podcast, it would be like, in my not in my kitchen, but sitting in my makeup chair. I mean, I've had some pretty cool people in my makeup chair. I've had Condoleezza Rice, Metallica, Journey. Some really cool people I've had.
Wow. Oh, I think I lost you there. Are you still there?
I spent a ton of time with Isaiah. Obviously, he's the last celebrity that I worked with, because we did this TV show, and I got to know him on such an intimate level, and it's so fun to get one time with someone that you would never normally have. Like Jaylen Brown, he's a basketball player in the NBA. He plays for the Boston Celtics. Right before he turned pro, I did this incredible photo shoot with him, and I had one-on-one time with him. And it's like, that to me is like the greatest gift I get, besides getting paid really well when I work, is getting to meet people that I wouldn't normally meet every day. I wouldn't meet a lot of these people. So that's really one of the perks of my job that I really cherish and love so much.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And that's really what it comes down to, is like doing and finding
Absolutely.
meaningful
I mean, I've
work
told my
that just
kids,
lights
like,
your soul on fire.
figure out what you love to do and figure out how to get paid, and then figure out, you know, where you want to work. And, you know, if you, you know, there's that saying, you know, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you're doing. I forget what it is, but it's something to that effect. You know, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
I mean,
no, exactly,
I feel so
exactly.
sorry for people that go to an office that they hate and doing a job they don't love. And, you know, how miserable. I mean, if you're spending how much of your day doing something you don't love, I mean, that's crazy. Why would anyone do that? That's crazy making right there. I mean, oh,
Yeah, no, and that's what causes
no.
resentment
And, you
and
know, and
regret,
bitterness,
and
and,
you don't want that.
you know, I my wish for the world would be to, like, you know,
Yeah,
figure out
yeah.
what you love to do. And if you weren't getting paid, you know, I think I think the world would be such a much happier place. You know, and I realize that there's extenuating circumstances where people, you know, they have to take a job or whatever, but hopefully you can, but again, it's a choice that you're making to be happy. Even, you know, sometimes I'm on a photo shoot and I'm working with some people that are difficult or not happy, and it does affect me, and I'm not having the most amazing time, but I can only control how I react to them. So I just try to, that's part of my
Yeah,
job, is
exactly.
to, you know, if I get someone in my chair and I need to make them, besides look good, I need to make them feel good, because they're going to always photograph so much better if they're happy. And it's really, there's different ways I do that. I'll use aromatherapy oil. I'll, you know, get hand cream if they have a headache and massage their hand. Make sure that they have some water and tea, and that they, you know, I really, part of my gift as a good makeup artist is to make people feel good.
No, for sure. And before you get them all, everyone dolled up and all that, do you always tell them to go, you know, go into the bathroom, check out the mirror, and
Yeah,
just get them to
exactly.
grin a lot before they
Yeah.
go come in?
Well, no, I'll tell them, you know,
Just in case they
I
didn't have
also
the
have to
best
learn,
day.
sometimes some people, they just want
Yeah,
quiet. They don't want to talk at all. Sometimes they want to hear me. They want to talk to me. They want to hear me
yeah.
talk. They don't want to talk. Or sometimes they just want to tell me everything in their mind. And I will just quietly listen and nod my head and go, yeah, wow, okay. So it's very interesting. As a makeup artist, you kind of a therapist, and they'll tell me things that they probably wouldn't even tell their best friend, but they feel, you know, and I never will tell their secrets, and their private things they tell me. I would never, you know, I would probably never work again if I did, you know. I would be blackballed out of Hollywood.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, for sure.
I feel very honored when I'm chosen to work. You know, there's, you know, my agent will submit me for projects, and, you know, they have a choice of 5 or 10 different makeup artists. And so when I'm selected, I'm very honored and grateful, you know, because I know that there is a lot of very talented people out there in the world. So when I'm chosen, I'm really, really grateful.
No, for sure. And yeah, and me as well.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
I'm very honored and grateful to have you on as a guest. I know you probably have a really busy schedule, and it's awesome to get to interact with people in different fields, different industries, and because I always
I
feel like
agree.
glean
I
a little
feel
bit of
that too.
wisdom from everyone that I meet.
Every
So
time I'm with someone new, to hear their story, or, you know, they give me a little, you know, it's so funny. I had the CFO of Google one time gave me like the best advice on doing hair. She's like, you know what, pull it tighter. And so it was like, you never would have expected the CFO of Google to like be giving me like hair tips, you know. You know, I've had different people give me little tips on hair and makeup, and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I will do that.
oh yeah. I love finding out tips
Oh,
and tricks that I
absolutely.
had no idea about from people. Like I love it when I love it when they share that with me, like,
Absolutely.
or just a different
Right.
angle of which I never
I do too. And
could
like,
see
they've
before.
taught me
That's
stuff
what I
like,
find
oh, okay, do
remarkable.
this on
Yeah.
Instagram, do this on Twitter. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay, thank you for teaching me that. So someone, you know what, I think if you can go through
Yeah.
life knowing
Yeah.
that everyone you encounter is going to teach you a little something, the world is a very fascinating place.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I feel like I just had a realization the other day. I feel like everything that I've learned up until this point and where my interests lie are actually
Mm-hmm.
kind of
It's true.
all a facet of psychology. Yeah, just human interaction and how we,
Mm-hmm.
how we like our daily routines. Like I'm obsessed with people's routines. Obsessed. Like I find it so interesting.
That
Like,
is true.
yeah,
It
like
is.
what do
That is
people do on a
true.
daily
And
basis to become successful? Yeah. Because it's interesting because so many
mm-hmm.
people, most of them get up early, but so many people's like day is like so different, but that yet they're all
Right.
successful
I
in their own
think the
ways,
most
and that's what I
successful
find so
people don't sleep
intriguing.
much, and they're up pretty early and they're getting a lot. They're
Yeah,
using,
yeah,
we all have 24 hours. So it's always funny to me when people go, oh, I don't have time to work out. Well, yeah, you do. You need to make time, Yeah. If you really wanted to, you
yeah.
could
It's,
do it.
it's not a
And,
priority, right?
or having your house clean. I mean, there's 24 hours. It's your choice on how you're going to use those 24 hours.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, people that are very successful, they're using those
Right. And then,
24
if you
hours,
think
and
about
then
it,
they're usually working for the
you're
most part.
really
So
living life.
yeah,
By if you're sleeping and you're just laying around not doing anything, well, you're not really living. You're not existing. And I think that that there's so much to do and be busy and be happy and feel good about life. It's so anyway. I guess how I would end this would be like happiness is a choice, and I really hope that if people listen to this interview that they choose to maybe live a little bit differently and choose to be happy and be a little bit more productive, a little more active, eat a little better, exercise a little more. That would be really great.
no, for sure. And I got one
Absolutely.
more thing before we end this episode with you. What advice would you give someone who hasn't quite found their true calling yet or their passion, but they feel like they're on the right track, but they're still not quite sure? What advice would
I
you
would
recommend
keep,
that they do?
I would write down a list probably of things that, you enjoy doing, and make a list and figure out, like, try to do it at at a higher level. I love flowers. So, that would probably be a job that I would love to do, is maybe be a florist I think if people would really sit down for a minute, meditate, and listen to what comes into your mind. Meditation is a really powerful tool that I wish people use more of, because the universe will guide you. If you're clear, the universe will help you. But if you're not clear, that's when all this chaos happens. So, like the chaos in your mind of, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sit down for just a little bit and breathe and think about the things that make you really happy and figure out how to get paid. And that's pretty much what I did with my makeup career. I love doing it, and I figured out how to get an agent, and and then I figured out how to do more weddings, and I just you just have to keep thinking of different ways to do what you love to do and how to make money doing it, because it's pretty. I have to say, part of the fun of doing this is that I'm successful and I'm able to make a pretty good living doing what I do. And it's exhausting. Don't think it's all like, oh, it's glamorous.
No,
you're working with celebrities. It's long hours. Sometimes you're waking up very early and you're working late and you're on your feet and you're tending to someone. You're making them feel good. So you're, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. And then, I'm still running my company, even when I'm on a photo shoot or other people are trying to book me for a job. So I'm always checking my emails and, responding to people. So it's exhausting doing what I do. So when I'm not doing it, I make sure that I take a little bit of time to go to yoga and go for a hike and just kind of get grounded and centered again and for me, being outside, getting fresh air out in the trail is the way I do it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that's great advice. And thanks again for joining us on this episode, Christina. I really liked having you. And
I look forward to it, Alex. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
In the future.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye.
Awesome. Bye for now.